curious, kind of if this sector is any more egregious, the problems than others, or is it kind of all the same?
Well, I think that the biggest challenge here is that they have to operate, right? It's a venue that we have to provide this line of care, and so when you see the extreme challenges facing this industry, I think it's definitely more pronounced because it is so hard.
Right.
It's a hard job, and the work doesn't stop. As they said, this is a building that's operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and while most of us got maybe Christmas or New Year's off, they did not, right? And they haven't had that break for a year and a half. And what Tracy, the administrator, said was, look, some of these people haven't had a vacation since the pandemic started. That to me is, it's huge, because when you look at the burnout affecting workers on the front lines, specifically in the healthcare and care industry, that's a huge challenge. That's another reason why I specifically asked about, hey, what's going on with the applications? Like, are you actually getting people interested in coming to work here? And it sounds like, from the application side, they're not getting as many, but then those are not even following through. And so that's a huge concern, because obviously we want to make sure that pipeline is vibrant. Nurses, that's a specific area that I've heard in a lot of the visits we've had, whether it was, we went to the Iowa Veterans Home, they're experiencing the same challenge with nurses. They're in a similar care model. So yeah, I think that's a huge red flag for me, that we need to make sure that pipeline is there for talent, and that they can keep people there.
And how do you control that kind of constant back and forth?
Well, that's why it's unsustainable the way it's going right now. And when I look at it, is kind of like an arms race, right? Of who can outraise each other, and at some point it's not sustainable, because, as they mentioned, their reimbursement rate is only a specific dollar amount. So in my mind, where that becomes a problem is if you do have Medicaid dollars or Medicare dollars that are helping to sustain these businesses, they will reach a point where they can no longer sustain the services that they're providing. In this case, for instance, they don't have the staff necessarily to keep a whole wing open, but not having the revenue from private paying customers, it affects their bottom line too as a business operation. So that's where I think, from a public policy standpoint, something needs to be done to help control that meteoric rise. We can do what we can to help, in terms of energy costs and utility costs and things like that,
right,
that are also obviously driving costs for operating. This is a big building. It's cold. You've got to heat and have power.
Automatic door.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, whatever you can do to be more energy efficient is great, but at the same time, those utility costs are going up.
Yeah.
So that's where I see, where we've been kind of sounding the alarm. We need to have better access to natural gas. Just energy independence in general, driving those costs down for people, whether it's the gas to transport people or goods, or the cost of heating and cooling. So those are some of the policy areas where we can help drive down overall costs, but still, when labor is your hugest cost driver, that's definitely concerning. I've seen, states like Georgia have enacted policies to try to help curb people who are taking advantage, right? So if there is basically healthcare price gouging happening, then we need to make sure, because in the public interest of taxpayers are funding a lot of the healthcare model in this country right now. So it's very important that we make sure that that's not on an upwards trajectory that's not sustainable for taxpayers.
Is that a federal issue that needs addressing soon? I mean, is that something that you need to get that rate up?
Yeah, I think it needs to absolutely be looked at, because it's been a long time since there's been an adjustment, and with inflation, it makes sense that we would have to take a look at that, because it does cost more, and these providers are getting to a point where they're losing money providing care, and that's not sustainable either. So we need to take a look at that. I think it's irresponsible, though, when the Democrats in Congress right now are talking about expanding these programs without any conversation about the sustainability of them as they are now. That's where we should be focusing. I spent some time talking about in that meeting, we should have been addressing funding for public health, not some of these programs that are outlaid till 26, 27 in terms of spending. Let's get back to the immediate needs of these programs and have the conversation about the long-term sustainability, because you don't get those rates up, Hawkeye isn't going to be able to provide the care they need to their residents or pay the people who are doing the care what they need to pay.